Hi, so my name's Daniel Sweeney, and this is my Fallout 1 UI and how I'm going to change it. So my target audience was a new RPG fan, a casual fan of these kinds of games that wouldn't have really played the old Fallouts and wouldn't really have minded them. Um, so they're now it's kind of designed to make it more simple for those kinds of players to get into the game. The Fallout 3 fans are also a target audience of mine, which is Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas, which is just simply me trying to get those people who played the later games, which are first person shooters, that might want to try the older games. And if you change the UI to be a bit more uh, recognizable to them, that they would be more likely to stay and maybe play and finish the games. And then Fallout 1 fans who are more hardcore probably don't want the game to change as much, and I have to be more considerate of these players because they're probably the most hardest. They're going to be the hardest to please on any changes that I make. Aesthetics, Jacob's law, and goal gradient effect. These are the three laws that mostly affect my game or my UI. Um, Not that the aesthetics are particularly bad, but the actual menus could look better, they could flow better, and they could just be generally laid out better. And that goes for the whole game, which is where Jacob's law comes in, where in things like that, there's no health bars on enemies, there's no inventory system is not like a scrolling system. It's not a box system kind of thing that we're used to these days. It's a very old and tedious to use system. So mostly taking more modern characteristics and of UI and games that we are now used to and implementing it into Fallout 1. And goal gradient effect is like basically how there's no way to tell if you're doing anything in the game, how you can't even tell how much health the enemy has. So just how adding health bars and things like that will let the player know that they are working towards the end goal of beating that enemy and how close they are to that goal. When I broke down the UI, I broke down every element that I did not like, every element that I wanted to change, like how the perk system, when you level up, overlaps all of your stats and you can't see what your stats say. So, unless you're a pen and paper player, you're completely lost here. And most people nowadays are not pen and paper players because our attention span has dropped. On the left, you can see like objects don't highlight, but they can be the same color as a wall. So, you could just think it's part of the wall. But if they highlighted, you would know that it's not. The research I did was mostly Wasteland and Divinity because even though they are much more complex games and have much more complex systems, I never felt lost while playing them. I always felt like I knew how to use the game and the systems. Um, and I feel like it taught me very well, whereas Fallout 1 did not. Fallout 3, like I said, if I could implement the iconography and the color schemes and the different like things in the Fallouts, the later Fallouts, then those players will want to stick around, they'll want to play, and they'll understand what's going on because they're not getting hit with a wall of text, and they will be able to look and go, "Oh, I understand that that was in Fallout 3." It will just make things a lot more clear to them. So, new UI breakdown, postage stamps. For me, this was how I'm going to lay out my level. How am are my game UI? How am I going to lay it out? What's each system going to come from, and how is it going to flow? Because it's very important that I don't mess that up, and I also know exactly what I need to have in each section. For my scamps, I started on Miro board. The first three are my HUDs, very simple, basic shapes, and then character one, character two, and inventory. These are different things that different ways that I was kind of thinking about putting them together. Then I went to pen and paper with those designs and made them a bit more detailed and a bit more kind of more what I was envisioning in my head. And doing an inventory system and kind of having health bars in different places and companion portraits and stuff like that. Then I went on to a color scheme system which I took from Fallout 3, 1 and Wasteland. I think that these would all make a nice HUD, but I think that keeping the color scheme the same as Fallout 1 is probably the best because you don't want to change too much so that the older fans have something that they can kind of attach to and still won't complain about. So then we have our low fidelity wireframes, which is the top four are all different wireframes that I did for the game and how I displayed them and different elements. And I tried to mix and match elements in the different wireframes. So if I did the two portions at the top in one wireframe, I would try it on all of them, try it on the bottom, just try to make as many iterations as possible. Then we had our character screen, which was how am I going to display the perk screen, how am I going to do all these things. Um, and then the second one is the perk screen too, and then the next two are two different variations of the inventory. This was a reference board that I made while in Adobe as well, just so that I could pull in different elements and constantly see my inspiration as I was going through. This is my wireframe that was based on Divinity, two character portraits on the top right. This is so that we can have like iconography that tells us like if the character is burning, if they're on fire, then you don't have to have it appear in the text box below. You can have an icon appear beside them. This is something that Divinity does, and it's really, really useful. And you can tell with a glance what's going on with all the characters. I added health bars at the enemies, and I like this design very much. This is Wasteland. It's a bit more spaced out, but I like it as well. It's very clear and very like smooth, I think. But I changed the health bar again. Then here, this is more closer to the original design of Fallout, the original kind of layout and what was going on with it. My art is not the best, but I tried to make it look as 3D as I could. Um, and then I also added a chain to the portraits, and I made the health bars look like Fallout 3, just to draw in that audience again and kind of like fix those problems. Also, just to test it because any of the health bars can be used in any of them. Then this is my character screen with a special. The special on the screen beside the special will change depending on whether it says you click on special character or status. And I added this in. This was not on the original game, which is that it gives you a small description of whatever special you click on is in. This is not in the original game, but it adds clarity. Then on the bottom, you can add your perk. You have a perk point, and you can buy your perk. And on the right, it tells you what that perk is. The other design was having the perk point thing off to the side of the screen. And then here you can see this is character, this is status, character, status, and then inventory. This is my first inventory design. This is my second inventory design. And then after talking to Zach for a while, he said to me that he liked the second one, but preferred the sorting of the first one. So I made a new design, which was kind of a mix of the both. And then I did my skill decks, and now I will show you my prototyping. So my first prototyping was to sit down and figure out all my health bars. And as you can see here, I programmed a bunch or did a bunch of health bars just to see how they would look, how they would feel, and try them in different scenarios. And then I prototyped out every system. So there's my skill decks. Um, and then here, as you see, I can highlight over an object I can interact with, highlight over an enemy that needs to be that can be attacked. And then if you click, you can see the health bars go down. If you see in the inventory, you have different weapons and stuff. The highlight works, the scroll works. Then you can click the armor and here, and then here, and you can see miscellaneous, medical, done, and then on character, you have all of the character stuff information, and when you click special, it changes here. So character, status, just making use of this as an actual screen rather than just a space. Um, and then we're done. And that is me.